Good morning. My name is Dr. Felice Cellini, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. This is our Wait for Recovery Sunday morning recovery meeting.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I am a compulsive overeater, I'm a binge eater, I'm a food addict, and I'm a drug addict in recovery.
And I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic in recovery. Welcome, everybody.
So we get together to discuss what is recovery, how do we get it, what does it look like, and how do we stay in it. So the big thing is we are just friends, and these are just conversations that we have with other friends. And this is what we discuss, what works for us, essentially. So, the interesting thing is, as we start heading towards Thanksgiving, for me as a food addict, I start getting certain fears and trepidations because I also had bariatric surgery a couple of years ago. And as much as we say it's not about the food, there was a stage where my whole world revolved around food and about getting more and eating more and not getting and not eating, and all those conversations of that serial dieting and that craziness that used to sit inside my brain, and takes me back and it makes me remember those times when, when I'd have a special event, I'd go on these crazy diets to lose as much weight as possible, to look good, so I could be in photographs. And then I'd go binge eat at the event and eat as much as possible and feel really uncomfortable, or not eat that much in front of everybody, and go home and stuff myself, and then start throwing up and start stuffing myself again, and then feeling really terrible, and either gaining back all the weight or all the weight and more. And it was a continual cycle of not being able to fit into my pants, or what size do I choose in my closet today? What does this really feel like? So even though the holidays can be a really special time, for some of us it's a really difficult time as well, because for many of us we know that it's not about the food. But for people who are joining us for the first time, I just wanted to say welcome and just tell you a few things. If you want to hop into the conversation, you can go to sowhywait.net and just join the meeting, step into our virtual waiting room. Or you can join us in Davie, South Florida. We're at the West Broward Club. It's a great meeting space. Come say hi. If you're live streaming us on Facebook, give us a thumbs up so we know that you are there. You can also watch us on YouTube. But however you're getting to us, welcome, because you're in the right place.
Yeah, when you talk about holiday times and say, for some of us, I think holiday times are uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Right.
And especially when there's any kind of addiction at hand there. So when you say, well, I'm going to starve myself for a week so that I can binge eat on Thanksgiving, it's similar to an alcoholic saying, well, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be drinking with everybody, so I'm not going to drink a couple of days before, and that never works out. So,
and for some of us who just are addicts and will use anything, if I wasn't eating, I was drinking, or I was getting high, there was always something else of taking away that uncomfortability that I feel myself, because I get really uncomfortable in big groups. And I always feel like I used to, this is pre-recovery, because I can really talk of two phases in my life. One is when I was actively using and really beating myself up. And the other one is once I've stepped into recovery, how the world looks a little bit different. But I would always assume certain roles, especially around my family and with friends. And those roles were always exhausting. I was either trying to look in a certain way to them or perform in a certain way. So it would end up with me tending to overdo things. So I'd either start binging, smoking. For me, I'm an addict. It doesn't matter what I pick up.
Yeah, it's so funny. You guys, Thanksgiving is a day to give thanks. Right? There's no rule that says, right, I have to go and eat like a pig and want to die after I eat because I'm so full. Like, it's not about that. We've made it about that. I think especially in this country, so it's a thing where everybody talks about what they're going to cook and what they're going to bring and what they're going to do and how I'm going to look and how many people are going to be there, and it's this whole big chaos, trauma kind of thing going on in our head, as opposed to bringing it back down to a day where I get to see my family, be with friends, and share the experience and give thanks for the things that we have. So simple, right?
So, the funny thing is with my family, we had these big events. So whatever it was, whatever holiday would be, that there would be the whole build-up of what are you making? Let's discuss the recipes, who's bringing what. And then we'd sit at the event and discuss what we're doing for the next event and who's cooking what and bringing what for the next one and how it didn't look the same as the last one, or it was better, or everything revolved around the food instead of just focusing on the moment and each other and other things.
Yeah, and then when we talk about any kind of addiction, food addiction, which is what we're going to talk about today, for us it's always about the food or the lack thereof, right? And it's always about what it is that we're going to do as opposed to how it is that we're feeling. And it's always about us feeling less than or not capable or not good enough or how we look on the outside as opposed to just being in the moment, feeling good because we're there. And again, being able to be grateful for that moment instead of stuffing ourselves with something, with alcohol, with drugs, with food, so that we don't have to feel whatever it is we're feeling at that moment.
So I want to translate this using your Aunt Selma. Okay, so Aunt Selma is, we always mention Aunt Selma, okay?
But I'll get one if it's important to you.
No, it's our generic end. But anyway, the thing is, so as a person who had geriatric surgery, I'm talking about Anne.
She's very old, so she had the geriatric surgery.
So I was sleeped. I had bariatric surgery, and part of that craziness would be then, Aunt Selma's making my favorite dish, and I don't want to hurt her feelings, and it really is the stuff that I choose not to eat. First, it starts off with the can't eat, In the beginning of recovery, it becomes things that I can't do until we start understanding what recovery is. But the conversation then is, well, I don't want to hurt her feelings, and maybe she's going to feel bad, and it becomes this whole conversation of how do I let her down, or how should I tell people I had bariatric surgery? It becomes all these chaotic thoughts because I'm not eating the way that I used to, and I'm making different choices. I start feeling uncomfortable in myself, and this is about me. Not everyone feels the same way. But I know, just given my past experience, that it speaks to certain people, and if it speaks to you, I absolutely can identify with where you're at, because I've been there. Learning to have a different conversation is part of the learning that I really feel I had to go through. I came into this situation doing the same thing over and over and over and over again for 50 years. It was a long time to be repeating the same habits and the same procedures and the same thinking and expecting totally different results. And part of it was starting to learn from other people that were living a little bit differently than me and getting different results and being able to be happy and be present. And I always felt empty on the inside. They're living contentful lives, and that wasn't me.
Full lives.
Exactly. Like for me, I'd be chewing over the past or worrying about the
so
future.
We're going to throw all those out there.
The thing is, really, it comes down to, I had to make certain decisions of what is this going to look like moving forward, and that becomes decisions, because when it's a decision, there's a thought behind the process. It's not just going and acting on my feelings. Well, I feel like this, and I'm going to start my diet again on Monday because I felt like I didn't want to hurt someone, or I felt like eating that, or I was craving this, or whatever those stories are. When we start making decisions, we start becoming responsible for where we are and how we're treating ourselves and what our place in the world and what things look like. So one of the things we had yesterday was a workshop. And we have these workshops which are learning experiences. So we learn from each other how do you deal with the stresses in life, because life shows up in ways that we can't plan for it. But if we've got a plan for ourselves, no matter how it shows up, we're able to deal with it.
Yeah, and one of the couple of things that we did talk about yesterday in workshop is you said, and I have to do this because we don't have to do anything, by the way. We have choices. So I choose to act a certain way or I choose not to. I choose to pick up or I choose to stay abstinent. I choose to be happy or I choose to be miserable, right? I choose to be grateful and come from a place of abundance, or I choose to come from a place of lack and to pity myself, poor pitiful me. Those conversations change when we're in recovery, and that's my hope for everybody, is that they'll learn to step into some kind of recovery and learn to change those conversations that they have in their own heads. And also yesterday we talked about self-centeredness. And you guys, when you talk about, Aunt Selma and she made my favorite dish and what happens if I don't eat it, who cares? First of all, the whole entire world and the whole entire Thanksgiving process isn't about you and your thoughts in your head. And everybody else in the universe is going to survive whether you eat the friggin' platter that somebody brought or not. And to fall back on those excuses as to, well, what's going to happen if I do this and you feel this? First of all, I can't make you feel anything. Nothing. That's about you. And so it's about me making good choices, understanding and standing behind the choices that I made today to stay, even if it's just to do the right thing for myself physically at the moment and let the head thing follow up later. It's about making choices and understanding that everything isn't about me. And I don't have to take everything on myself. And everybody else in the universe is living their own life, no matter what my thoughts are. And that's recovery, is learning that I'm here to show up, to do my best, that the rest of the world's thoughts and feelings aren't my responsibility, nor do I have any control over those things. And learning how to live in my own life, and learning how to live that life, learning how to be happier, so that I can choose behaviors that keep me healthy as well.
So I know we have a lot of people that join us on Facebook, and I just wanted to touch base with them because I know we speak recovery, but for a lot of people it's their first time here, or it's maybe they've come back a few times. Is this speaking to you? If you can relate to that uncomfortability on those stresses and those thoughts before we go into the holidays, give us a thumbs up so we know that you're out there and that others who are going through the same thing don't feel so alone. Because you know what, it can be a really lonely, scary time for lots of people.
And ask questions, you guys. Ask some questions if you need some answers. We're all happy. There's a community here that's happy to help you out. And share whatever it is that you need to share, because I can promise you, whatever it is that you're sharing, there are a whole bunch of people out there that feel just the same way, that would love to hear from you. We are going to have a workshop before Thanksgiving, which is this Thursday. Which is this Thursday,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time.
And if you want to join it, there's more.
And
if you want to see more or find out more about it, it's on the website at somewhilewait.net. You know, the reason we do this is it's a learning opportunity. You know, I learned that the person that I'd struggled to get to know the most, and the person who I really stepped away from and was resistant to learning anything about, was really myself. And getting to understand why I do things and the way that I do them is part of my learning, to be able to change things that are making me miserable, so I can actually step into being happy and living life, just enjoying the moment. You know, I couldn't do that on my own. And the way I know that I couldn't do it on my own is the amount of diets I've tried and the amount of weight I've gained and lost over time, and the fact that I went for bariatric surgery, and the reason that I went and tried all these quick fix different things, and the way that I looked at, if I could change the outside, my insides would start matching, and I'd start looking happy on the outside and feeling happy on the inside. And you know what? Things like that work for a very short period of time. Because once I started, you know, the excitement of losing the weight and going shopping and getting the new clothes that fitted and the smaller sizes, it's a very short-lived experience. You know, after a while, life starts kicking in, and I started going back to those same behaviors over and over and over again. And then it became a fight with myself. You're not good enough. Why can't you stay on a diet? You know, why can't you do this? You promised yourself this morning that you weren't going to do it, and by the end of the day, you did it. You are useless, you're worthless. All these terrible conversations that I have with myself, and the way I used to beat myself up, and no one would know, because they were all happening inside my head. The only thing people would know is the way that I was talking to them, especially my kids and my husband, when I become short-tempered and nasty and mean and abrupt and all these other things because I was uncomfortable. You know, this takes me back to places which were really mean, horrible places for myself. So the thing is, for me, learning is pivotal in me being able to move forward and to grow and to change things. But the learning isn't a one-time event. I don't go in and learn a secret code. You know, that secret diet of if I stick to this forever, everything's going to be okay. I didn't become like this overnight. You know, for me, this has been a process. And for us, that's why we keep doing the workshops and doing these classes, because we honestly believe that if people know something different, they're going to try something different if they really want to.
Yeah, you guys, when we're stuck and sick and scared and we're 150 pounds overweight, then we're 150 pounds overweight and stuck and sick and scared. And we have bariatric surgery, and now we're the weight that we wanted to be, and we're still stuck and sick and scared. And so when our feelings don't change, eventually our behaviors, once we can eat past that surgery, which you guys will all be able to do at some point, because I can't tell you how many of my patients come back after they've had surgery, and now it's 3 years later, and they had originally lost 115 pounds, and now they've gained back 130 pounds, and they have no idea of why or how, or didn't even know beforehand that this was a possibility. If you don't change what's happening inside, the outsides are going to change momentarily, and then it's going to go. Listen, if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? If you want something to change, you got to change. It's pretty simple. And so we're going to talk about those changes and what it is that we need to change from in here, not just what needs to change on the outside. You know, when we fix ourselves inside, the gifts of what happened on the outside come. That's second. First is us waking up in the morning happy, not waking up in the morning sick and scared, not wondering, how did I get to where I am? How did this happen? But understanding how it is happening.